Sunday, May the 18th now, and we're still waiting to get the engine block back from the machinist, so we decided to go ahead and start painting some of the parts for the rear end in the meantime. So we got our little spray booth built just out of some 2x2 lumber and bulk plastic. It's got a furnace filter here boxed into the inside wall to bring clear air into the booth, and a 20-inch box fan at the far end boxed in there. And there's a cardboard chute we made to go around that to take the fumes and some of the overspray out the garage door and away from the shop. We've got some poles hung up, and we do close the garage door partially to allow more light in here as well. We've got a regulator and air dryer coming from the compressor, and then a line in for the gun. And I can come in here and close the door. Keeps things sealed up, and it's done a good job of containing the overspray. So yesterday was our first day, and I sprayed the 2 rear wheel centers as well as the platform. 1 coat of gray epoxy primer and then 2 coats of red. And yeah, they've turned out well so far, so I'm pleased. In addition to those 3 big parts, we did a bunch of smalls as well. So we did the clutch and brake pedals, and then a bunch of brackets for the seat and some of the fast hitch stuff at the back. So that all looks great, and I'm happy with how it turned out. You do of course get some texture with some of this cast iron still, but it's very smooth to the touch. And yeah, the paint's got an activator hardener in it, so 24 hours later it's dry to the touch, and we're just gonna give it a week or so to kind of fully cure, and then we'll hopefully start some assembly. So the goal with the rest of this long weekend is to prep and hopefully prime and paint the chassis here, which will be exciting. And then some of that other stuff we've already painted can hopefully get assembled onto it here in the coming weeks. So that's an update, and we're moving right along here. Exciting to get some red laid down. We've got day 2 of painting under our belt now. We did the majority of the remaining parts for the fast hitch, different pieces of linkage and brackets, etc. Got those all done. The U-shaped piece that goes under the bottom rear of the tractor to secure the drawbar and pivots up and down with the fast hitch, as well as the actual pivoting arms that raise and lower the fast hitch. A bunch of pins and collars. And then I actually resprayed to put an extra top coat on this wheel center and that platform. I wasn't quite happy with how that final finish turned out on the first go around. Those were the very first pieces that I painted. So I wet sanded them and went over them again. I'm much happier now, so that's all good. Did some hardware, still some sitting in the booth. A little bit more right there. And that was about it for red. And then yesterday we took the primed rims to the farm and mounted the tires, and then I've masked around the rims, and I'm painting the silver on by hand, and that way, doing that final painting with the tires mounted, you won't mar up the paint at all when mounting the tires. So everything went well on day 2, and we're pleased with the progress. Several parts down, but lots more to go. It's June the 2nd now. We did another paint batch this past weekend. Got the drawbar done as well as a bunch of smalls. Made some hangers out of some little foam rollers and wire for washers and nuts, and that seems to work well. I've been able to take them off. They didn't stick, so. But the big thing was we got the chassis done. Got it rolled in here, jacked up. Took quite a while to prep it, then went on with the primer and paint. I did end up doing a 3rd touch-up coat. There's a few areas that were pretty hard to access, especially on the inside of this short side final drive, but everything's looking good now, and I'm quite pleased. So we'll let that harden up for the week and then get it back out here. Also got the first wheel center installed in one of the rims. The rims are all done with the silver, and that looks pretty sharp too. So looking good so far. still lots more painting to do. Okay, it's Sunday, June the 8th, and we had a big day today, our first significant day of assembly. We got a lot of the back half of the tractor together. We started by rolling the chassis out of the spray booth, and then we installed the platform and the pedals. The left-hand brake pedal has a shaft that goes right through the torque tube that's too long to install with the wheels on. So we did that first. Then we got the wheel centers into the rims and got the wheels themselves onto the back half of the tractor. At that point we could take out all our blocking, and we've just got the front of the bell housing on a single pair of casters now. From there we installed the big U-shaped piece that bolts to the bottom of the final drives, and then the drawbar attaches to that. Then there's a pair of brackets that bolt to the rear end and the top of the axle housing, and they allowed the top pivot shaft to move up and down. And then the remaining pieces of linkage for the fast hitch went together. So we've got our side-to-side pitch adjustment here, and then our overall depth adjustment here. We finished off with the seat brackets and the battery box. So most of what we have painted went together. We're happy with how it's looking so far, and we're just going to carry on with more prep and paint, and we'll slowly keep adding pieces. It's Monday, July the 21st. It's been very humid the last month, so we've held off on much more painting just to play it safe. But this past couple of days, the humidity's really cut down, so we've gotten after it again. We did some priming on Saturday. Yesterday, Sunday, we mounted the tires onto the primed front rims here. These are new tires we purchased. And then today, after I spent the time masking off those tires, we sprayed some red. So we got the two front rims done, as well as the two halves of the front bolster done. And then we did all the hardware for the front bolster, as well as a few other small odds and ends, which I've got hanging on the other side of the shop. So a little bit more painting, and we're finally expecting the engine back very soon, and we'll be able to commence on reassembly of that. It's Wednesday, August the 19th, and this past Sunday we finally got into some engine reassembly. We got the block back from the machinist. He bored it out for 20 over pistons. The new pistons he mounted on the original rods with new piston pin bushings, and also honed out the bottoms. He decked the block as well as the bottom of the head. We've got new intake and exhaust valves to go into the brand new valve guides which he installed, and he also ground all the seats. The crank was ground 10 under for the rods and the mains. We've already got it in with those new main bearings. We plastic gauged each journal, everything checked out well. We followed that up with the camshaft. It's back in there with the original lifters, back in their original bores, and everything turns nice and smoothly. And so far, so good. Over here, I've got a piece of 220 wet sandpaper on a piece of plate glass, and I'm taking the high spots off of this rear crank oil seal retainer. This is made out of pot metal and is known to warp, so you want to take those high spots down to make sure you're going to get a good, even mating surface for the gasket. We do have that new oil seal installed. The lubricating oil pump, the little gear pump, which is driven off the rear of the camshaft, is also going to go on next. Those two items have to go on before we can mount the engine back on the engine stand. We've got the front bolster all reassembled after painting the two halves and all the small components. So that's where the two tie rods will hook up, and this is where the front axle will pivot. So that's the progress as of right now. We're going to continue with engine reassembly. The little shop is, fair to say, at full capacity right now, but hopefully it won't be too long before the engine go back on the rear half, which is waiting patiently. Okay, we've got our pistons and valves in. We just put our front cover and crankshaft pulley in today. And got pistons moving up and down and valves opening and closing. We just finished adjusting the valves, so rings, the new rings have things a little stiff right now, but everything's lubed up and it's getting easier all the time. So we're going to go ahead and put the valve tappet cover and the head on now, and things will be pretty well sealed up here. So nearing the end of engine assembly. Okay, it's upside down. We've got the head and the coolant elbow on with a new head gasket, copper coated and all torqued down. We've got the oil pickup tube and screen on, and we're about to seal things up with the oil pan. So here's a last look at our crank and cam before they're hopefully sealed up for a long time. So engine assembly just about complete. Okay, the engine is fully assembled to the point where it's ready for paint. Got the governor on after doing a little bit of last minute work on it. Got all the surfaces masked off and all the tapped holes or threaded holes plugged. Got an old set of spark plugs in there to paint over. Everything's ready to go, so tomorrow we'll be doing some paint. We've got the engine accessories, distributor, hydraulic hard lines, hydraulic pump, air cleaner, starter, fan, as well as the 2 radiator supports and fan shroud, all prepped and ready for our first batch of paint, and then all their corresponding hardware we're going to paint as well. So paint day tomorrow.